Hi, Christine Williams back again to talk with you about your great triumph in completing Your Life Story, My Life Story, as it's now titled. The autobiography of your life with all the main concerns and events compacted down to several thousand words on a page or screen, all of those words created by you to best describe your incredible lived experience. All the trials and tribulations, all the bliss and shared happiness. Congratulations on what you've created so far. Now all you need to do is place the cherry on the top of your autobiographical cake, a glorious gâteau composed of the memories you had locked away in the treasure chest of your mind. The memories that came flooding back, as well as those shy episodes that wanted to remain out of view and which you had to entice to the surface to share with those who will read your story. The cherry on top? What cherry is that? It's the cherry of your epilogue, your reflection upon your reflections contained in this account of your life. This review that we'll begin now is the culmination of the process of constructing your memoir. It's where the real value of your story lies, the opportunity at the end of a written work to comment on the work itself. It's your way of commenting on the meaning of the work to you, a look back at the process of remembering and writing, deciding what was meaningful in your life to keep in the story and what was not so important, even though it might have seemed important at the time. What you have here in your memoir, page after page, are those parts of your life as lived that remained meaningful and are integral to the final culling, the final cut. An epilogue doesn't need to be long. It certainly doesn't need to be a box full of repetitions of what you've written earlier. What it can be is a realization for yourself and your readers, a summary which contains revelations for us all. It's your final opportunity to consider the meaning of your life as lived, to view it in relation to your early dreams and ambitions, to take a realistic view of what you achieved, even though your life no doubt did not unfold according to the early script you imagined, to recognize that your life fitted well your pattern of thinking and the values you held dear. Those values may not have been conventional, they may not have been the values that produce great fame or material wealth, but they must have contained riches even so, riches in tune with what you believe in and your relationships with others. Finally, the epilogue is your opportunity to realize an understanding of the meaning of your life, to yourself and others. To have loved and been loved by at least one other may have been enough in itself. So now, let's look at the center of our being. This is an expression that has been used to describe the sense of oneness that pervades a meditative practice, in a way an attempt to explain the inexplicable. A Swedish diplomat, Dag Hammarskjöld, used the term in this way, and I quote, "In the point of rest at the center of our being, we encounter a world where all things are at rest in the same way." The American Trappist monk, Thomas Merton, also had an understanding of the term in relation to all religious movements when he said, "At the center of our being is a point of nothingness which is untouched by sin and by illusion, a point of pure truth." And if you want the fuller quotes, you can look in the notes for this webinar. The story of your life that you've been writing over these 2 months has so very often been about the expression of your life through action and spoken word, which you've written about through your description of your actions and your involvement in dialogues. But you've very often written your thoughts, not only what you thought of your own and others' actions and speech, but also in the very choice of what you decided and would write about and what you chose to leave out of your story or had by this time forgotten as inconsequential. Do you think that through this process you've come closer to an understanding of the center of your life or the center of your being? What is to be found in stillness, the mental and emotional rest you find after contemplation, after the reflection you've engaged in intensely over the past 2 months? Can you at least write about the sense of satisfaction you may now feel, the deeper understanding you have about what your life has been about? Do you recognize the gifts of love and understanding you've received along the way, or those you've given, often without them being reciprocated? Can you see that some people have loved you exquisitely, and have you given up being vexed that others have not? Are you finally at peace with yourself so that you can honestly look at your life with gratitude, knowing, without taking on the leaden burden of feeling full responsibility, knowing that there are millions of people on this earth struggling to reach a place that is a mere fraction of the emotional and physical well-being you've experienced over the course of your life? So, the first draft of your story is almost complete. once you've written here in your epilogue some of the highlights of the process of not only your life, but the writing of it, you'll be able to feel justly proud of the result you've achieved. This journey of exploration of the self has been a writing task you may have hardly dared to think at the outset that you'd succeed in. But there it is. First a prologue, where you set out what your plan and purpose was in writing my life story, followed by 6 chapters that encapsulate your life. Now, what still needs to be said? Perhaps not a lot. Perhaps you feel that most of what you needed to convey to your readers has been dealt with. And yet, there might linger in your mind the idea that there are some aspects of your life, or your life as you have now written it, that deserve a little more examination. And perhaps that examination is more about the interior of your life than the exterior actions. No, I don't mean the internal organs of your body, your liver, your lungs, your pancreas, although these must be affected as they're linked with all your actions in life. I guess the heart may be the main organ I'm talking about. Well, not so much the pumping chamber that carries blood and oxygen to every other part of your body, but more what is known in India as the heart chakra. This is said to be part of a network of energy channels around your body which might best be described as an outer nervous system. Hindus are not the only religious faithful who study the non-material elements to personality and non-physical, that is, spiritual understanding. One branch of Islam, at least, has an aesthetic focus, Sufism, and one great poet in that tradition, Rumi, is considered by many to be a Sufi saint. Here are some quotes from his poetry. Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth. What you seek is seeking you. Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Now, the Christian tradition also has its fair share of aesthetic saints, many of whom have visions, or had visions, which reinforced their faith, and many of whom had what is known as immaculate corpses after their death, which is when the body does not decay for up to a week at least, taken as a sign of their purity of thought and body. Now, I'm not expecting you to be saintly. I mean, who do any of us know who is a saint? But there may have been experiences you've had in life which you've felt to be true at some deep level, through instinct or intuition, whatever name you might want to give it, an experience which was beyond rational explanation, maybe even a strange coincidence that had a big impact on the course of your life. Let me offer you a couple of readings, which you can find at greater length in the notes to this webinar, as a prompt for you to write something from your own life in a few minutes. Now, here's a quote from Saint Teresa of Avila in Spain, who lived in the 16th century, wrote several books about her life, and is known as the patron saint of writers. Quote, "It is foolish to think that we will enter heaven without entering into ourselves," she wrote. In another passage of her writing, Teresa writes of her soul using the language of erotic passion. And here's the quote, "It pleased our Lord that I should see the following vision a number of times. I saw an angel near me, on the left side, in bodily form. He was not tall, but short, marvellously beautiful, with a face which shone as though he were one of the highest of the angels, who seemed to be all of fire. They must be those whom we call seraphim. I saw in his hands a long golden spear, and at the point of the iron there seemed to be a little fire. This I thought that he thrust several times into my heart, and that it penetrated to my entrails." How much heart did you bring to the task of writing your life story, of writing your autobiography? It may have been reasonably easy for you to plunge right in and to get those words on paper or screen. I hope it was. That's certainly what we at My Life Story Project were encouraging you to do. So if there have been some perplexing moments which you'd like to include in your life story, now's your opportunity. Some unusual experience, some strange coincidence, some intuition which proved right, against what might have seemed the more rational way to go. This writing exercise will last 10 minutes this time, and once you're done, resume by clicking play.